this is Dan again. I've come up with a little problem which I thought I would run a video on just to see if I can succeed in my task. It might be useful for other people. The problem I have is that the Korg Triton, which I haven't used for ages, in fact this camera doesn't pick up much, but it'll probably pick up the amount of dust on this unit. The problem I have is that I have a key that is just not playing. Keys the other side are fine, after touch etc. is fine on the keys above and below, but this G here, the top G, is just not sounding. So my intention is to take it apart, which is always fun of course, and do a step-by-step video as I do it. Then if it's successful in my, because I'm guessing it's dirty contact, something like that, if I give it a clean up and it works, then the whole process that I've gone through might be useful for someone out there. So speak to you soon. So I've moved it downstairs onto the lounge table, which will give me a bit more space and much better lighting, and because I'm going to flip it over, I've got some cushions ready. Please don't comment on the, oh hell, go ahead, comment on the cushions. I guess comments are better than no comments. I'm going to flip it over. I'm not going to remove any of the knobs just yet because I'm not sure that I need to, but of course I am worried when flipping it over with things like the button here and the knobs here. So yeah, I'll arrange those and flip it over and see what we get. Just a quick point, you might have noticed when I was playing upstairs that I've put this little sticker here on the offending note. Ooh, get it in focus. On the offending note, that's just to help me, because I'm figuring that by the time it's flipped over it might be difficult to work out and remember which key it actually is, so I just put that on there in case it's needed later. So here it is flipped over on top of the cushions. I've put two cushions under the main keyboard side, and then I've allowed a little gap for the mod wheel joystick, which you can probably just see through there, and on the back of course there are loads of screws. So I'm guessing, because it looks like it tucks into the frame, the body frame, what is now the front, so where the keys are, it looks like it tucks in under there, but I'm going to start by removing the two covers here, which is probably for RAM and expansion slots, and then continue removing all these others. I'll try and count them as I go, so it'll give you an indication of how many you have to do. Okay. Hi, so I've taken 31 screws out in total. That includes the screws for the two covers. I've left 6 screws where they are for now, because these 4 here, which line up with the floppy disk drive, I guess is holding the floppy disk drive to the chassis. So once I pull that up I should be able to see whether it's necessary to remove those. The other 2 that I've left are here, and it looked as though they were not actually going through the chassis. There's a larger hole going around the screws on those 2 there. So it feels now as though I can lift this up. Yes, I can. And yes, that's the floppy disk drive. And it looks as though there's a couple of connectors there. As anyone that's familiar with computers and putting floppy disks in, you've got the main ribbon cable and the power going to that. So I'll disconnect that, and then that should slot out. As I say, it seems to slot into the front of the chassis, so by pulling it back towards the camera it should just lift off. So first of all I'll disconnect those. So a quick update, I've removed the cables off the floppy drive, and I just wanted to give you an update, because where I thought that this bottom chassis slotted into the frame here, in actual fact that is part of the frame. So sorry, that's not a brilliant camera view, is it? But you can see from the front here, this whole section lifts out with the floppy drive still connected here, and that's what it looks like so far. I'll have a little look around and see the next plan of action. Okay, so having turned the keyboard upside down, I do not recommend you do this. In fact, obviously anything you do that I'm doing here is at your own risk. I have actually powered it in, keeping hands completely away from this area here, because this is where the mains comes in. But I wanted to put some headphones in so I could just check whether anything I was doing was making any effect. But thankfully, because of that sticker, it was quite handy, because you can just feel it slightly raised on the key that was the problem. There was a fair amount of dust in here, which all I did was blow across this area here, and having first played the key and indeed it wasn't working, blowing and tapping the key, blowing, tapping the key, I could then hear a very, very faint response through the headphones. So I carried on doing that. That's the key that was at fault, and it just seems that that combination of blowing gently, obviously you don't want any spit, blowing very gently across it, and then suddenly it all came back. So obviously don't know whether this is going to work once I put it all together, sod's law, but that would seem that it was all it was. Everything else looks to be okay. I might get on the Hoover we got an attachment with some fine brushes on the end of the sucker, the end, and I might just gently go across this whole area here just to make sure, because I think that's probably the problem, is that a bit of dust or debris got in there. So I'll do that, I'll put it all back together again, and then we shall see. Okay, bye for now. Just interestingly, as I was using the Hoover attachment, oh, by the way, let me just show you, that's what I meant, one of those that's on the end of the Hoover. And while I was brushing over the area with the affected key, I noticed, let's see if I can get that, there was the finest of hairs just poking out from near the contact. I don't know whether this was the problem, but I'm guessing that because, you know, you're talking such micron thickness when it comes to making the contact there, that could well have been what was causing the problem. So anything like that, it's as well to get rid of. Can you believe it, if that was the problem? How annoying is that? Anyway, so I'm going to close it up now and find out whether it works the right way up. So I have encountered a small problem, and I know how to do this, but I thought it might help to show you guys. Although it was easy to get the base off with the floppy drive attached, you're trying to get it back in. This basically is trying to get behind there, and you're trying to clip this back underneath a ridge which lays underneath the bottom of the keys. And the way I've done this, in fact I've had to recreate the problem, so I've had to do it again, is that I've got this side in and it's clipped in, and then as we run up here, of course, we now want to get that in there. And the way I've done it is by slightly, I probably won't be able to do this one-handed, but slightly bend the drive up on the base, click that in, and then the floppy drive will slot in behind here. So it's not easy, but it's not impossible. So here we are back upstairs, put it all together. I think I mentioned there were 31 screws. All of them are the same size, which is handy, because there's nothing worse, is there, than trying to remember different sized screws for different holes, etc, etc. So 31 in total. And the only other thing I was going to mention is that the base that I took off at the very start, so the complete base of the keyboard, once I'd removed it, when I went to go put it back on, I realised it was very dusty, so it was well worth giving that a hoover over at the same time. So this is the moment of truth. Let's just check we have. We approach the offending key. Lovely. No doubt there'll be a ceremonial removal of the little X sticker later on. So there we are. I hope that helps some of you out there. I'm by no means an expert, but I can't help feeling that sometimes getting an engineer is an easy option when perhaps we can try and do things ourselves. So all the best to you, and look forward to your comments. Bye for now.